Attendance list should be circulated. Could everyone please make sure they've signed the attendance list? Thank you. Could you switch your mobile phone off or to silent mode for the duration of the hearing, please? I'll aim to have a short break mid-morning and mid-afternoon. We will break for lunch at about 1 p.m. I will now state who are participating in the discussion to briefly introduce themselves. So, Mr. Adams.
Thank you, sir. I'm John Adams. I'm a partner of Deloitte Real Estate, and I am representing Grosvenor and the University's superannuation scheme. And the reason why we're here is that we have proposals to create the Cambridge Community Sporting Company project, which comprises the development of a sporting village to the west of Land of Portston Road, Trumpington, and development at the Abbey Stadium with Cambridge United Football Club to improve the stadium and to create a wider range of facilities. And we call that project the Cambridge Community Stadium.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. My name is Douglas Edwards, City Council. I am a barrister instructed for the purposes of the examination by Cambridge City Council and South Cambridge District.
Thank you.
Sarah Saunders, Planning Policy Manager at the City Council.
Joanna Gilbert-Aldridge, Principal Planning Policy Officer at Cambridge City Council. I also have with me today Bruce Waller, Senior Planning Policy Officer at Cambridge City Council, who may come to the table as needed.
John Dixon, Principal Planning Policy Officer at South Cambs District Council.
Okay, thank you. Once the discussion is concluded, and if time allows, I will offer participants the opportunity to briefly sum up the main points they wish to make in relation to the matters and issues discussed. Please note that no new points should be introduced at this stage. If participants wish to contribute to the discussion, could you just append your nameplate so that I can see that you want to come in? Thank you. Okay, can we now therefore turn to the matters and issues? The matter today is not CC5, Services and Local Facilities. If we move first to issue 5A1, which is Policy 72, Development of Change of Use in District, Local and Neighbourhood Centres. My understanding is that no one is here to speak to that particular question. I have the council statement, so I'm happy to go along on that basis. Okay. So can we move then on to matter 5A2, Policy 74, Community Sports and Leisure Facilities. Now there are a number of questions relating to this particular issue, but my understanding is, Mr. Adams, that your main interest is question 1 and question 4. Is that correct? So that's what the issues you're raising statement. So what I'm happy to do is to go first to questions 1 and 4 and bring you into to contribute whichever you wish to the discussion. So would you like to kick off with that?
Thank you, sir. Just by way of introduction then, context, as I have mentioned, we are representing Grosvenor and USS and Cambridge United Football Club in respect of our representations on this policy. Our interest in this policy, which relates to the future provision of sporting and recreation facilities to serve the Cambridge area, is that Cambridge United Football Club is a very important sporting organisation within the city, both in terms of its competitive sport, football sport, but also in terms of its community trust, which undertakes a wide range of community outreach, sporting activities to promote participation in sport, and also to engage a wide range of the community in the activities of the club. And Grosvenor and USS.
So we need sorry, could you get a bit closer to the microphone? Sorry, people at the back.
Yeah, sure. Sorry about that. Grosvenor is the freehold owner of the Abbey Stadium, and since it acquired the freehold of the stadium, it has been working very closely with the football club to try and establish a viable strategy for improving the club's facilities so that it can have much better facilities both for its first team but also to support its community programs. And out of that partnership has emerged a proposal which is slightly different to the community stadium proposal that is referred to in the evolution of the local plan and is referred to in 8.13 and 8.14. And I perhaps should just explain the differences just to provide some context. Really, going back to 2005 and some of the earliest evidence-based reports that were prepared to inform the future sporting strategy and recreation strategy of the city, the need has been identified for a range of indoor and outdoor sporting facilities covering the major sports of football, rugby, hockey, swimming, cycling, and a whole host of other sports. And what we have is a really substantial evidence base that consistently identifies quite significant gaps in the sporting provision available for the growing community of Cambridge and its sub-region. And the research, which perhaps I can just reference, because it does date back a long time, started, some of the key reports were the Cambridgeshire Horizons Major Sports Facilities report in 2005, various reports relating to Cambridge Community Stadium feasibility study in 2008, Cambridge Sports Strategy in 2009, and then more recently documents which are referred to in the Council's statement, the major sub-regional facilities in the Cambridge area review dated 2013, the indoor facilities strategy dated May 2016, and the joint playing pitch strategy. So the most up-to-date reports being those two recent reports which the Council has commissioned and published. And I don't intend to go through the detail of the gaps in provision that those reports have identified, although I'm happy to go into them. They are rather voluminous. But in essence, I think the position is that there is a significant identified need for new and better indoor sports and outdoor sports facilities, particularly to cater for the major sports, football, hockey and rugby, but also to address the needs of other sports such as swimming and cycling. And also a consistent theme of the report has been to recognise the benefits of clustering those facilities. And those benefits are fairly obvious in terms of the opportunity if you cluster new sports facilities. You are much better able to manage those facilities for the benefit of the widest possible range of users. And you can create a focus for the community, and those facilities can provide a wider recreational and community function. So I'm only going to talk very briefly about our proposals, really just to try and provide the context as to why we're here, because I'm really focused on the policy, whether it goes far enough to address the needs that have been identified in the evidence base. But our proposals, or our client's proposals, would meet a significant number of the needs for indoor and outdoor sports facilities that have been identified in the evidence base, including the most recent playing pitch and indoor facilities reports. They would involve the enhancement of the existing Abbey Stadium, increasing its capacity to up to 11,000. Currently the stadium has just over 8,000 seats. It has a planning permission for 10,000 seats. But importantly, in increasing the capacity of the stadium, a whole host of improvements will be made to the disabled access to the stadium, to the gateway to the stadium, which is currently a fairly poor arrival experience. So creating a significant area of public realm, a much improved gateway to the stadium, and to improve the facilities for related community uses. So the Cambridge Stadium, community stadium, could become a more effective stadium for the football club, but also a more effective hub for the community and its outreach activities. And what is new? Because I think I'm right in saying that most of the work that has been done to look at the need and benefits of a community stadium in Cambridge in the local plan have focused on seeking to accommodate a new community stadium and significant indoor and outdoor sports facilities on the same site. And that has been concluded to be extremely difficult, if not impossible, given the constraints on site availability and viability in Cambridge. And that whole process has been documented by the council in, for example, their issues and options papers of 2013. But what is new and distinctive about the proposals put forward by the Cambridge Community Sporting Company is in parallel with the creation of a much improved community stadium at Abbey Stadium, the creation of a sporting village at Trumpington, which would include extensive outdoor and indoor sports pitches, and which would provide for both elite sport, but also a whole host of other types of sporting participation, ranging from participation by disabled people in sport, schools and clubs, focused on football, hockey and rugby. In addition, there would be a new closed circuit cycle track and BMX facility. So in a sense, these proposals disaggregate the original concept of the community stadium by providing the facilities that have been identified as being required in the evidence base in 2 locations, but delivered by one company and managed by the Cambridge Community Trust.
So in particularly to respect to question 1, appropriate location for community stadium facility, is it your argument that what you've just described would actually provide that, or go further than providing that? Is that your argument?
What I've just described would deliver the benefits of a community stadium, as has been tested throughout the local plan process. And it would go further in terms of its ability to do specific things for the football club, because it would provide the basis for the football club to move from football academy level 2 to 3, and to significantly expand its community outreach program. So go further in many respects than the very quite specific technical requirements identified in the evidence base. It would deliver the benefits of the community stadium. But I think the key relevance to the policy is that our real concern, I think, about the way in which the policy, particularly paragraphs 8.13 and 8.14, are evolving, is that we don't think the policy really goes far enough to recognise and plan for the significant needs that have been identified for new sporting facilities to serve the Cambridge region. Because if you take out reference to the community stadium, as I understand it, what we're really left with is some very generic references to the desirability of improving sports provision. And I'd really like just to turn to, if I may, paragraph 73 of the NPPF, and just explain why I think the plan really should go further than it seems to be going. So paragraph 73 of the NPPF addresses sport and recreation and how planning policies should approach these 2 important pieces of infrastructure. So I think the key points I just wanted to draw attention to were firstly the obviously uncontentious point that access to high quality open spaces and opportunities for sport and recreation can make an important contribution to the health and well-being of communities. So this is an important part of the plan, and with the growth in population projected in the Cambridge area, there is clearly going to be significant pressure on the existing sport and recreation facilities, and a need to plan for new facilities, as NPPF says, to support the health and well-being of communities. The next part of paragraph 73 says that planning policy should be based on robust and up-to-date assessments of the need for open space, sport and recreation facilities. Well, we have a really substantial body of evidence relating to the need for improved sports and recreation facilities. But I don't think the plan then really adequately addresses what should be done with that identified need. So if I turn to the final sentence of paragraph 73, it states that information gained from the assessments should be used to determine what open space, sports and recreational provision is required. So we have the assessments in the reports that have been commissioned by the City Council and South Cambridge District Council. So we've got a substantial body of evidence that there is a need for a whole host of improved sporting facilities plus other qualitative improvements. But the plan really just provides the most general guidance on and some very general support to encourage the provision of those facilities. And we'll obviously look at the suggested amended wording of the plan in a minute. And perhaps I'd be grateful if the council could introduce that, because I've only had about a few minutes just to read it, so I'd like to consider it further, but let's come back to that.
Okay, shall we just...
But I just wanted to really bring this together, that the sporting requirements that have been identified in the evidence base represent major capital and land extensive projects. And therefore, I think the plan to reflect the NPPF should be providing greater guidance on what facilities are needed at the very least, because at the moment we're left with relying upon the reports, the evidence-based reports, but the key findings of those reports I think should be reflected within at least the text of the plan, because otherwise the status of those reports is far from clear.
Okay, so you happy for the council to come back to that point?
Can I just check my notes, sir? So in summary, the plan does not summarise what the identified needs are, or what their land use implications are. And I think as a minimum, the plan should identify the sporting and community needs that have been identified through the extensive evidence base. I also think that the plan should specifically recognise the benefits of clustering these major new sports facilities in one or a small number of locations, because a piecemeal approach to delivering these facilities would not, A, is unlikely to actually bring about their delivery, because these are major capital projects, and 2, would not bring about the benefits of really effective management and operation of the facilities, so that they can be managed cost effectively in the long term and managed in a way which maximises their use by the widest possible range of sporting organisations and the community.
Yes, thank you. I'll start and others will contribute.
Reference is made to some further modifications. Do you want to?
I will. I'll
Briefing.
introduce it. But I think I just want to start by putting a marker down just to say that we don't accept that there's a wealth of evidence indicating a need for a community stadium.
So you don't?
We don't accept there's a wealth of evidence indicating a need for a community stadium. In the council's hearing statement, from paragraphs 13 to 41, we go through and we explain the approach we've taken to plan making in reviewing evidence base that was prepared by Cambridgeshire Horizons, undertaking our own evidence base and the public consultation we did on the issue of a community stadium throughout plan preparation. And that provides a good story and explanation as to what we did, why and when. Our statement also brings in the playing pitch strategy and the indoor sports facilities strategy, which were undertaken over the past couple of years and concluded this year, which have fed into the preparation of the council statements and have been endorsed by both councils, the Cambridge City Council and South Cambridgeshire District Council, as evidence base for the local plan and in decision making. So we don't accept there's a wealth of evidence base indicating a need. Paragraph 37 of our statement from the work that we did ourselves states that we concluded that need is a subjective issue, and we tested that through public consultation, and public consultation didn't support there being a need for a stadium. And then the playing pitch strategy and the indoor sports facilities strategy, which go to 2031, do not identify any quantitative or qualitative need for a community stadium. We also are of review in reference to policy paragraph 73 in the MPPF that has guided our plan making preparation, and access to high quality open spaces and opportunities for sport and recreation are embedded in both local plans. Particularly in relation to policy 73 in the Cambridge local plan. We proposed some modifications in June on the back of the playing pitch strategy and the indoor sports facility strategy being finalised and being made public and taken through the council for endorsement. And the supplement back in June outlined the approach that was taken to the preparation of those studies, the outcomes and consequential modifications to the local plan. So at that point in June, we proposed a number of modifications. One of those modifications on page 6 refers to a modification being put forward from the council to cross-reference in policy 73 to any proposals having regard to the playing pitch strategy and the indoor sports facility strategy. And then, having reviewed that as part of preparing for these sessions, the council are proposing now to table this morning consequential modifications that flow from the playing pitch strategy and the indoor sports facilities strategy, bringing the evidence base up to date in relation to paragraphs 813 and 814, the supporting text to policy 73. We think they're helpful clarifications in light of the evidence base, what the evidence base says about the need, or doesn't say about the need for a community stadium. So we can provide you a copy.
Okay, please.
We did share a copy with Mr. Adams just before the session, just so he was aware.
It might be useful then to take a break at this point to go through those. If we break now, should we come back at 10 to? Would that be possible? I'll break until 10 to. Thank you.
The community statement, I think, is misleading because the stadium would be a focus for many of the new indoor and outdoor sports facilities that have been identified as being required of the plan. And the report
Is that identified in the strategies that we're...
identified in the strategies. And the reports do not explicitly address the question of whether a community statement is an effective way of delivering the objectives. And the reports certainly do not appear to specifically address the needs of the Cambridge United Football Club or the Community Trust, which were considered in earlier reports relating to the community stadium. So what the reports do is identify a long list of aims and objectives and requirements for new and improved indoor and outdoor sports facilities. And I think the important thing is that the plan adequately reflects the scale of the need and the challenge that of meeting that need with the growth of Cambridge. So I don't think actually these reports have specifically addressed the community stadium issue. What they have done is confirmed again the significant need for major new facilities, both indoor and outdoor, for sports and health and fitness.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Just in terms of the further work that the Council have undertaken on the playing pitch strategy and on the indoor sports facility strategy. So just to be clear, we're talking about RDCSF 190, the playing pitch strategy, RDCSF 190 and RDCSF 200, which are the playing pitch strategy and the indoor sports facility strategy respectively. They were undertaken by Cambridge and South Cambridgeshire councils working together, and they cover the areas including the new settlements, all of South Cambridgeshire's villages, the urban area and the city's urban extensions. And we worked on those strategies with Sport England and in consultation, extensive consultation with the national governing bodies for a number of sports. And those strategies reflect Sport England's practice guidance of 2013 on playing pitches. They assess the quantity and quality of supply versus current and future demand for pitches and facilities to 2031. And the councils consider that meets the needs of planned growth to 2031. The strategies do not demonstrate a need for extensive new provision over and above what is planned for to 2031. They do, however, identify where there are shortfalls of other sporting facilities for different sports, and they provide options for meeting the needs of those sports, some of which are co-located. This includes addressing hockey and football, as has been referred to, directed by Grosvenor's representation 27128 and Mr Adams today. Whilst we consider that the playing pitch strategy and the indoor facility strategy provide robust and up-to-date information on need, both strategies are being kept under review, and that will ensure that we have up-to-date assessment of need and that provision remains available, and we can therefore address changes in circumstances. Each strategy includes action plans, and in respect of the playing pitch strategy, that's split into an action plan for Cambridge and an action plan for South Cambridgeshire. Planning officers are working with sports and recreation officers within council and also with Sport England and the national governing bodies and to assess what has been delivered and what is a priority for future delivery to meet the needs of the city and South Cambridgeshire's growing and changing population. So we believe that those strategies do what is needed and that there are sufficient hooks within the plan, certainly in respect of the Cambridge local plan and the changes that we've proposed in respect of the matter CC1 supplement 1, which has been referred to by my colleague Mrs Saunders, that there are a number of hooks there which refer to those strategies.
Do you want to come back, sir?
No, sir, I think I was just going to check. I think presumably these minor modifications will be published and there'll be an opportunity to comment on them.
Well,
I wasn't sure on the...
that's perhaps for me to come in right the strategies were obviously introduced previously, so we had previous debate on them. I discussed them with my colleague, Ms Graham, and my understanding is that Sports England have actually withdrawn their objections on the basis of those strategies. On that basis, we are minded to suggest that they should be treated as main modifications. That then would give the opportunity for further consultation and, if necessary, further hearing. Are the council happy with that?
Yes.
I think that's the most fair way forward.
Yeah, that's very helpful, sir.
Okay.
I have another question.
Please do.
In the another part of the CC, the City Council statement on this topic, on pages 5 and 6, addresses makes a number of comments relating to the Trumpington Meadows site. Although I think these comments are reporting analysis of the Trumpington Meadows site that was undertaken early in the plan process, but I might be wrong. Some of the comments that appear to date back to early reports. My question, sir, is I have comments on those sections of the council statement that relate specifically to Trumpington Meadows and the City Council and the District Council's consideration of Trumpington Meadows as an option in the community stadium. And my question is whether we will be able to address those comments later in the hearing when we actually consider omission sites. And apologies if I have missed something about how the hearing is progressing, but I was assuming that there was going to be a section of the hearing later on omission sites, and then we could pick up site-specific comments then.
Yes, we are planning to have hearings on omission sites at a future date. Obviously, there's no date planned yet, so that would be the case. Does the council agree? Yeah, you're happy with that? So the question is whether we would have further hearings on omission sites. Clearly we are. And you'd agree that would be an appropriate place for further consideration of this particular site?
Yes, and just to confirm that that's absolutely right. The council statement refers to a particular stage in the process,
right.
And that was based on the information that was shared with us by Grosvenor at the time we did that work. So
right.
It's factual in relation to that point in time as part of the plan preparation. That's the information before us, and we haven't had any further information submitted to us as part of plan making.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes,
perhaps
I assume the case. The way in which the hearings would be organised is that the questions to be addressed in the omissions site section of the hearing
yes.
would be published.
Oh, yes.
And that would be our invitation to provide more up-to-date information.
Yes.
Yes, so that's certainly how we expected matters to proceed. So just on a factual matter, I suspect you would have detected this in any event from the representations you received for this session, that Grosvenor have submitted 2 planning applications, one to South Cambridgeshire District Council and one to the City, relating to the proposals for Trumpington Meadows and the related proposals as they're said to be for the Abbey Stadium. Now, as I understand the position, both applications have been validated, but obviously yet have not been determined. So certainly by the time the examination of rightly examines the point of considering the Cambridgeshire Meadows site as an emission site. It's like that has well moved on
Yes.
in terms of the determination of the applications.
Do you want to make any comment on the planning applications at this stage?
I've deliberately tried to avoid going into too much detail on them because I was trying to relate my comments to policy.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful to Mr. Edwards for updating the position. There is a substantial body of information which is, I think, relevant to the emission site section of the plan, which we would briefly summarise and bring into our representations of, or our written statements in preparation for the hearing on the emission sites. And that would be our way of bringing relevant matters that are relevant to the policy consideration of the Trumpington Meadows sites into account. But I chose today not to talk about these specific points in the council statement because I felt they were really too site specific. Although I'd be happy to expand.
Sorry, in terms of the two planning applications, clearly, as has been suggested by Mr. Edwards, it is quite possible by the time we get to emission sites they may have been determined.
Yes.
Which would obviously inform future considerations.
Yes, I think the important thing is that there is a body of evidence relating to the Trumpington Meadows site in particular, which would enable us to respond better to the City Council's comments on the Trumpington Meadows sites when they considered it in the context of the local plan, and would build upon the evidence we submitted to the Greenbelt section of the local plan.
Right. Right. So obviously there was supporting evidence in the planning applications that are submitted. It goes without saying. So you're saying that supporting evidence, it would be somewhat separate to the arguments you're putting forward in terms of the local plan itself?
Well, the application, the planning permissions are submitted on the basis of seeking to demonstrate very special circumstances for development in the Greenbelt.
Right.
But the evidence relating to the community stadium and sporting village and the land and the impact on landscape and greenbelt would certainly be relevant, I think, to the emissions section of the local plan.
But presumably also that will be fully considered within the planning application process itself. So that, as I was saying, the planning application process may well inform discussions at a future date on the emission side.
Yes.
I mean, not the emission side. The point I'm making is, I think that we would need to take those at that future date. And you agree?
I agree. That's what we should do. And the opportunity to comment on these changes to paragraphs 8, 13 and 14 is helpful. So we can give proper consideration to these changes and provide our comments accordingly. Can you provide some guidance as to when the modifications would be published?
They will be published after we completed the hearings for the plan itself. At the moment, we don't have a finalised programme, I'm afraid, either for Cambridge or for South Cambridgeshire. So at this stage, it's very difficult for me to sort of give any indication really when that might be. It's certainly not going to be for some months, to put it mildly. But thank you. Do you, Mr. Evans, do you have any further comments, or are you happy to leave with that?
I'm happy to leave it.
Okay. Councillor, any further comments? I think, therefore, on that basis, going back to the matters, questions, there are a significant number of other questions, but again, no representatives have sought to come to speak on this. And again, I have the council's statements on all of those matters, which I'm happy to take away and consider. On that basis, unless no one told me otherwise, I'm quite happy to close the hearing at this point. Okay. Just to let you know, The next hearing the hearings recommence in the council chamber, South Cambridgeshire Council, in Camborne, and the issue there being considered is matter SC2, which is climate change.